All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, and of course, now we are just 2 days away from the start of the NFL regular season. I can't believe it's already here. We're literally just days away from Thursday Night Football, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty exciting, so it's only natural. The end of the preseason, beginning of the regular season, Tuesday. Time for picks videos. I'm very excited to come back and get into the picks videos again. We did pretty decent last year. We went 158, 111, and 2. Not the greatest year, but again, not the worst year. We finished well over 500. We hope to do good again this year. We went 500 in the preseason, directly even. Something like 23, and 1, I believe, was our final record. So that's pretty good. Hopefully that parlays into the regular season, something, right? But yeah, we have 16 games to get through. We have a full schedule, jam-packed, so we should probably get right into this. And make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and make sure you leave your picks down below so I can get back to them, see what you're thinking, see what you think of my picks, and just generally I really enjoy getting people's picks and seeing how they're doing. So, make sure you leave them, and we'll see how everything plays. But yeah, likes and all that and the YouTube stuff, it does help the video, so thank you in advance for doing so and helping us out here. Anyway, you can get a look at our numbers from last year. You can see everything. Excuse me. The burp is for good luck. That's always a good sign. Anyway, let's get right into Thursday Night Football, right? We got the Chiefs taking on the Detroit Lions. We got the Lions taking on the Chiefs in Kansas City. Lions went 9-8 last year. The Chiefs went 14-3. Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 54. And as always, the lines are included way after I do the picks. These are from FanDuel if you're wondering where I got them from. Yeah. So just I don't really let them influence my picks. It's just something I include afterward. And so here we go. Regarding this game, we don't really have a ton to go on because it's the first game of the season, first for each team, first for the general NFL season. So basically what I'm basing this on is, so we see two very hyper-potent offenses in this game, so we're probably going to get what's going to be a shootout, right? Because they're both shaky on defense. It's not either team's strong suit, but they both do have very good offenses. They have good offensive-minded coaching, pretty solid overall coaching staffs. So when you have to look at things, you have to kind of wonder, like, what defense is probably going to be a little bit more stout. And I think right in this game, I'm trusting the defense of Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, Jerry Jacobs. That's a pretty solid defense compared to the Chiefs with Snead, Bolton, no Chris Jones. I think I said everybody good on their defense. It's not a very depth-filled defense. So when you look at things, you're like, what defense do you trust to really get a stop? It'd be Detroit. And if Kansas City had the option to play Chris Jones in this game, I think I would take the Chiefs at home in pretty much a heartbeat. I would imagine they'd be able to get the pressures on and put some serious damage there. But again, without Chris Jones, I feel like this is the Lions game to kind of come in and steal, because here's a fun stat. When Chris Jones plays, the Chiefs are number 1 in the NFL, I believe, last year, and over his career getting pressures. They're one of the best pressure getting teams when Chris Jones plays. When he doesn't, and when he's not playing, they go to 28th. So they go from the number 1 to a bottom 4 team in terms of getting after the quarterback. And one of the things that the Lions do very, very well is block. Pass block, run block. They're a very good offensive line, one of the top 5, maybe top 3 units. And Jared Goff, when he has the ability to throw, when he's given time, when he's got a good line, he tends to tear apart defenses. It's kind of like it's Jared Goff. Everybody knows the line with him. He goes as far as his line blocks. So with Jared Goff, he has a line, no Chris Jones, very weak pass rush from Kansas City after that. It kind of looks like Detroit's going to be able to shred a rather weak secondary, especially one that thrives off the pressure put on by Jones, leading to a Lions kind of upset here to start the season off. When I do upset picks, I kind of explain them a little bit more than the average pick because it's like an important one. But yeah, so this is my upset pick of the week, too. Especially with a near 7-point line. That's crazy. We'll see how the Lions do. All right, let's move on, because some of these games I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, like this one. Who gives a shit? The Carolina Panthers take on the Atlanta Falcons, 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 39.5. Again, if you're a fan of one of these two teams, I apologize, but like, really, who cares? Maybe like midway through the season, this would be exciting if the Falcons or the Panthers are like showing signs that they're going to be good, that there's a team there. But right now, it's like, It's an okay game. It might be kind of exciting if you're a fan of the team to see your future in Bryce Young and the 5 running backs that Atlanta has. So I don't know. Atlanta might be one of the teams that are like ushering in something I think is going to happen this year, in like a return of the run game. From like several teams, I think like 4 or 5 teams are going to be like run heavy this year, and it's going to be interesting because the way defenses are set up, they're kind of set up to stop the pass. They're smaller, faster, a little bit more focused on like stopping receivers in the pass. So it's something to think an eye on. But yeah, I think Atlanta can just kind of overwhelm this Panthers defense, especially with Brian Burns kind of being in a weird state of limbo. If he doesn't play, then the Atlanta Falcons should win this game because there won't be much to stop their 3-headed monster. And I don't know. I don't really know if I trust the Panthers offense quite yet. Got to see it in action. Bad line, tiny quarterback, not good. Ooh. Speaking of a weird one, the Houston Texans take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are 10-point favorites with an over-under of 43.5. I think that's the biggest line so far this weekend. But yeah, I like the Ravens in this one. It's pretty simple. Like, I really like the fact that they added Odell, they added Zay Flowers, they have Mark Andrews, they have J.K. Dobbins. They have a pretty good little set of offense to work with here against a Texans team that's way better on defense than people gave them credit for last year. But I don't think they're in any way able to compete with the Ravens right now. They're a brand new team with brand new everything, with a bunch of brand new players going up against a surefire playoff team. That at home season opener, I don't know how Houston's going to contend. I mean, they can maybe do something. I hope they just play their game and hope to not get blown the fuck out. That's really what Houston should be aiming for, is just surviving. Because boy, oh boy. Maybe if this game had happened midway through the season and we know what D'Amico Ryans could do, what his defense is doing, what the new offensive coordinator's doing, we can maybe think Houston could play a little better in this one. But this rough game to get for Houston to open it up. Sheesh. Here's a really good one. The Bengals play the Browns. Bengals are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 47.5. I got the Bengals winning in this first game, mainly because I think with the Bengals, we kind of know what we're getting. You know, you have Burrows should be good and healthy. The offense is good and healthy. They added some pieces on the line like Orlando Brown, so that's going to be wildly improved. Their defense looks like it's going to be pretty good, even losing a couple safeties. They seem to have replaced them. So we're looking at a very good defense, very good offense in the Bengals that realistically should be able to start off running. I don't really see a slow start for them like they had last year, which was mainly because of Burrow's appendectomy, where he missed the entire preseason. He got some time this camp, so he should be good to go. So yeah, I have really no questions about the Bengals. They seem good and ready to start the year off. Whereas with the Browns, it's like, if we knew if Watson was going to play good this year, I would probably take the Browns at home. Even with all I just said about the Bengals, I do really have a problem taking like division rivals on the road. Especially when the teams aren't like that far apart. Like the Browns defense is really good, but like their offense, I have so many questions about. Like, is the receiving core improved? The line will be fine. They'll be able to run the ball. Is Watson ready to go? Is the receivers ready to work with him? Is everything improved from last year? Can Stefanski actually be a good coach? Which I don't think so. That's another thing. I think Zach Taylor destroys Stefanski coaching wise. So again, if this was a little later in the year, maybe the Browns take the game in Cincinnati. I think they split, especially if Watson's good as it goes on. But I think there might be a little stumble right away for Cleveland, especially against a ready-to-go team like Cincinnati. All right. What do we... Ooh. This is one of the teams I think is going to be the worst in the league, and the other is the Jaguars. Never thought I'd say that. The Jaguars take on the crybaby Colts, the worst owner in the NFL now. Even though he's the longest tenured, I guess, like that matters. He speaks for the entire NFL now, I guess. That's what he said. Jim Irsay did. Jags are favored by 4.5 with an over-under of 45.5. And yeah, I agree. Jags should come in and kind of destroy this team. The Colts are by far the youngest team in the NFL, so they have a total lack of experience. A work in project quarterback that I think is super talented, probably the best of the class, but still a work in progress. There's a lot to be like done and molded there and still developed. I'm not really blown away by anybody but Pittman as the receivers. The run game's in disarray. We don't know how bad the Jonathan Taylor situation is going to affect like the offense. Maybe the veterans that are on that team might be a little bit upset. The guys who've been on the team the last couple years with him might be a little bit ticked off or rubbed the wrong way, not trying as hard because the way they're seeing the way Taylor's getting treated and handled. We don't really know what kind of disarray the Colts are in right now against the Jaguars team that's ready for revenge. They're ready to come out and kick the shit out of people. It looks like they look like Ridley specifically looks like he's like a wound up animal. He's like, let me out, and he's, you know what I mean, like like the Joker when he's like talking about the dog chasing the car. That's basically what he's like, and he's ready to go. I think the Colts are going to run into an absolute monster performance from the Jaguars to start the year, because again, they have a player who's like ready to destroy after his suspension. So give me the Jaguars in a game where they just kind of outmatch the Colts roster wise and experience wise, and you know, just like, plus it's a new situation in Indy. I don't really like new coaches against playoff teams. Tampa Bay takes on Minnesota. The Vikings are 6-point favorites with an over-under of 45.5. This score is very specific, and I'll explain why. I think Minnesota wins this game very easily, but the score is going to be deceptively close because Minnesota has this weird tendency to let teams get back in, but I think Tampa's just going to score like 2 touchdowns really late in the game, and then nothing else comes from it, and Minnesota just kind of hangs on and wins 28-24. Again, Minnesota got a great offense, solid quarterback, great receiver, elite receiving core, good line, pretty solid running. Like everything works for Minnesota. It's just their defense is kind of shaky and kind of weak. And so I'm not really sure what we're about to see out of Minnesota's defense. Did they add the right improvements? Did they finally get the right guys? So I can imagine a situation where Tampa keeps it kind of like vaguely close until the end, and then like they come real close, but they're not able to do anything because Minnesota just gets it and either like runs the clock, or Tampa just fucks up and loses in the end. But it feels like this could be a very possible thing where Tampa might look like they could get the upset, but ultimately Vikings probably take it. Kind of a boring game too. The Titans take on Tennessee Titans take on the New Orleans Saints, 2 7-10 teams. Isn't it crazy the Titans and Saints finished with the same record last year? It feels like the Saints were so much worse than 7-10. Saints are favored by 3 with an over-under of 41.5. I gotta see it to believe it with New Orleans. I don't like Michael Thomas is supposed to be good, Carr's supposed to be good, everybody's supposed to be good now in New Orleans, but I gotta see it to believe it. Let me just see it once and I'll believe it. I like what I see in Tennessee. I think Burks has improved. I think Hopkins has improved. I think they obviously have Derrick Henry to go alongside a very improved pass game. So now, Tannehill has stuff to work with again. The only real question for me about Tennessee is their offensive line. Did they make the right changes? Defense should be rock solid. They work better on the road as underdogs, so it has all the makings of a Tennessee upset based on the fact that they're 3-point underdogs on the road. And everyone thinks they're kind of shitty, so I'll take the Titans. Very good scenario for them. This might be game of the week, depending on what the Steelers' offense looks like. San Francisco 49ers take on the Steelers in Pittsburgh. 49ers favored by 2.5 with an over-under of 40.5. I have the 49ers winning, and that's mainly out of the fact that I think the 49ers defense, even without Bosa, I still think they're going to be like this menacing defense. If Bosa doesn't play week 1, they're still going to like, that's kind of what I'm expecting in this, which is why Pittsburgh puts up some points, but ultimately they're going to fall short. Again, 49ers might have the best defense in the NFL, even without Bosa. They still have like Fred Warner, whole bunch of other guys that I literally can't name because of all the attention on Warner and Bosa. I don't know. I think Purdy should be fine. I think the offense will do their thing against the Steelers, even though they'll have some trouble. Steelers aren't exactly a slouchy defense. They'll be able to shut down a lot of things, which is why I have the score in this like 6-point really close game. The real question, if the Steelers offense takes like this huge step forward and suddenly there's like badass dudes, they could probably get an upset here. I wouldn't be too shocked. Especially at home. And especially since, like, if they did take that step forward, nobody knows and nobody's ready for it and no one's expecting it. So they would literally be catching somebody completely off guard. So again, if the Steelers are here and ready, for, like, Piquet and everybody, we'll see. You know, it's kind of hard to tell with the second year guy. All right, last 1 o'clock game. Ooh. Arizona Cardinals take on the Washington Commanders. Worst team in the NFL versus the Commanders. Yeesh. Commanders are 7-point favorites with an over-under of 38.5. I got the Commanders winning like 17-10. I don't know if Arizona's even going to score if they don't got Kyler, you know. I really don't know who their backup is. Washington's going to just feast on this dude. Washington had a good defense last year, but just no offense. And this year, if they have an offense, then they could really come out and kick the shit out of somebody. But I have no idea what Sam Howell's going to look like. So I'm only going to let him get 17. But hey, got a good run game. Brian Robinson's very underrated. Plus, he's a dog. Get shot in the knee and still play that season. Sheesh. What an absolute dog. All right, but that's my 1 o'clock picks. Let's move on to some another doozy of a shithole game. Sorry, Packers and Bears fans, but you know, it's like the Patriots playing the Colts. They're like, oh wow, 10 years ago, that was really cool. But anyway, you know, Bears are favored by 1, which is hilarious, with an over-under of 43.5. I have the Packers winning, mainly just because the Packers own the Bears, and until the Bears can start winning against the Packers, I'm going to pick the Packers. It's kind of like the Patriots. You know that they beat the Jets for like 8 straight years now? Really, like 16 games in a row. It's like, well, until the Jets win now, I'm just always going to pick the Patriots. Also, I just think the Packers are a better team. Love seems to be a better quarterback, not athlete, than Justin Fields. They seem to have a better running game in Green Bay, better receivers, better defense, better coaching that I know of, right? Eberflus could be a really good coach, but you know what I mean? You have the experience of LaFleur versus a rookie coach, and it's just all the things kind of point to a Green Bay win. Now, I mean, again, if DJ Moore was the big improvement that they needed, and Fields is now this new guy, and the Bears' defense is improved, well, it doesn't really matter. But if suddenly that's the case, then the Bears could get the big win. But ultimately, I still think they're behind their bitter rival. Another big game. 6-11 versus 5-12 from last year. You could see why I spent a little time on the good games this week, huh? Good rivalry games, just shitty matchups. Raiders take on the Broncos. These are the 4 o'clock games, by the way. The Broncos are 4-point favorites with an over-under of 44. Yeah, that makes sense. The Broncos have a good defense, slightly better defense than the Raiders do, so they should be able to kind of shut down Jimmy G and Josh Jacobs and what might be kind of like this weird limited performance from Josh. Didn't do anything in the preseason. Remember, he just signed this contract like a week and a half ago. So you know, he might need a game or two to get up to full speed. So if you're playing the Raiders, this is probably a pretty good time to be able to kind of shut them down and impress them with a pretty good defense that the Broncos do have. Again, you know, the fact that there's a timing issue and Jimmy's a new quarterback, and if Jimmy plays, could be like, I don't really know what's going on with the Raiders offense right now. So I'm kind of like, I don't think it's a good thing to have this many questions playing a defense like the Broncos heading into week 1. And the Broncos, they maybe can do enough to win this one, right? I'm giving Russ another chance. I'm riding. Who else is riding? Let's ride. Broncos country, we riding? All right, everybody on the ride? All right, let's move on to the next game. We ride into the Dolphins taking on the Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 50.5. Yeah, I kind of like the Chargers in this one. I know Vic Fangio is going to help it wildly improve the Dolphins defense. I know that they made some decent pickups, but again, with them losing Jalen Ramsey, I feel like that's a big loss. Now their secondary looks the exact same as it did last year. Maybe like with the addition of another safety or something like that, but it's like, and like Cam Smith or something like that. It's just nothing that like stands out at you and makes you go, wow, now this is suddenly the elite defense that they needed to be. Again, maybe the coaching is the big change, but until I see the big change, their Achilles heel is the secondary. Until Jalen Ramsey comes out, because again, one side of the field is going to be kind of weak against the Chargers team that now has 3 good receivers in Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and of course Quentin Johnston, who I think is going to be phenomenal. Plus, you got to deal with Eckler. So yeah, if you're the Dolphins, I don't know if you have the defense to defend that. And so if this game breaks down into a shootout, ultimately, I trust the Chargers offense way more. I think Miami will stay in this game and keep it close because, again, they have a very, very good offense. Tua seems to be a good quarterback when healthy, good receivers. They'll be in this game, but I think ultimately I trust the Chargers defense to be able to make the stop, and I trust the Chargers offense to make that big play when it really needs to. Again, maybe Fangio makes all the difference, but you got to see it first. This game sucked. I didn't want to have to do this to my team. I have my Patriots losing week 1. This is because I'm not going to be biased. But Eagles are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 45. I think the Patriots put up a pretty good fight. And obviously the line makers do. They have us getting into the 40s in this one. So they have both teams doing pretty good. Ultimately, though, I do think the Eagles are a better team right now. Their offense is set, their defense is set, special teams is good. The Patriots defense is set, our special teams is set, but I don't know what our offense is going to be. And if you're playing like the defending NFC championship champions, one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the more complete teams in the NFL, you really can't come into a game like this with like, is Mac Jones a guy? Do they got a line? Is the receiving core good? Is Billy O'Brien really the fix the Patriots needed? How's the new running system going to look? Is Zeke still good? Like, we have so many questions. Is the dual tight end of Gesicki and Hunter Henry going to be something special, or is it going to flounder just like Jonnu Smith and Henry did? There's so many weird questions going on that it's really hard for me to be like, yeah, the Patriots are going to upset them. If these questions were answered, maybe I would go with that, because again, I think the Patriots have a very sneaky good defense, and I think we'll find out really quickly how good it is. But right now, it's like, yeah, we have to go with the Eagles. So it's only the right thing to do. Too many questions. If this was any other situation and there was this many questions, I could not pick that team in good faith. But we'll find out. Rams, I don't know if they stand a chance in this one. Rams play the Seahawks in Seattle. Seahawks are 5.5-point favorites with an over-under of 45.5. Let me take a drink of water. My shit was, oh, there we go. My shit was getting fucked up there. So in this one, it's essentially, when I look at this game, I'm like, all right, so basically the Rams still really don't have much of a defense outside of Aaron Donald. They lost Ramsey. They drafted pretty good, but again, it's not like it's like game changing. Next year will probably be much better. So again, I could see how Seattle could maybe score some points on them, get the score up pretty nice and high, get it into something that would favor them, because again, also right now, Seattle probably is a little bit better in a shootout situation of these two teams, because again, they have a slightly better offensive line, they have a very good run game, very good receivers. If Geno's actually a good quarterback, then they have a good quarterback situation, where the Rams have a good quarterback, a singular good receiver in Cup, some other guys that can play receiver, question mark run game, question mark line. So there's all these weird questions. While I do think the Rams are getting a little too much hate in like the way that they're portrayed, I think offensively they'll be decent, because again, Seattle's defense is shaky. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Seattle wins this one. Again, they seem to be a slightly better team much better team than the Rams heading into this year, with way less questions. All right, Sunday Night Football, a classic matchup. This is going to be a good one. The Cowboys take on the Giants, and I'm sorry, Giants fans, I have the Cowboys winning by a single point. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 46.5. By the way, I split these series, so the Giants will win in Dallas. Yeah, basically, I don't know. I feel like the Giants have a lot of new pieces this year with Waller and Hyatt, and I think like one or two other people. And I think that's going to be the big thing that kind of slows them down in this game, whereas the Cowboys are basically running out the same receiving core with Dak and Tony Pollard. It's basically the same Cowboys with the same, I guess they have a new coordinator, so we'll see how that plays. I don't know. I just think the Cowboys will be able to take this one. Going into the first game of the year, you probably have, and especially in a rivalry game, you probably want to have as few of like question marks or potential weird things going on with your team, and having two new mouths to feed, and not knowing how everything's going to function in a game together with Daniel Jones can always be a little bit weird and like create timing issues with Hyatt or Waller. We're not exactly sure how things work. It could be right away, it could take a week or two. You kind of gotta like this weird tension about that, right? Whereas with the Cowboys, we kind of know what their team's gonna look like. So if it's like a close game, like I think it is, I'd slightly trust the Cowboys with their experience together, slightly more experience together, slightly more experience coaching to be able to pull this game out. Again, I think the Giants split and they take the later game. So for what it's worth, Monday Night Football. The Aaron Rodgers debut, the Super Jets debut, the big debut of the brand new Jets. Will they crash and burn, or will they be soaring high above the sky? I think they crash and burn. Well, not really. 31-28 isn't much of a loss. Yeah, the Bills take on the Jets. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 46.5. Yeah, and so I think this is going to be a coaching victory. I think McDermott is going to do everything in his earthly power to win this fucking game. Like, they're going to do everything possible to win this game. And if you don't know McDermott, and if you do know McDermott, you know I'm right about this. This dude has got 50,000 different schemes to try to beat this team, and I think that's going to be the thing that kind of fucks the Jets up in the end, right? Because again, they have new coaching in the offense, obviously new quarterback, so there's going to be a little bit of weirdness there in a real speed NFL game, in a tense division rivalry that the Bills are going to be going 110% in to kind of throw them off and get them kind of weak, and kind of maybe create disunity and like this weird tension amongst the Jets because they had a weird shaky first game, didn't go the way that they thought it would, which could create some problems down the road. But more or less in this game, I think the Jets can take advantage of a sometimes weird Bills defense. I think the Bills can take advantage of the fact that there's a lot of weird newness, a lot of weird just unfamiliarity with the Jets. I know they're a very close-knit team and they seem to get along very, very well, but again, they haven't really played real NFL games together in the current iteration, so that's always a weird thing. And again, I trust McDermott's coaching over Salah. Sorry, I forgot his name for a sec. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think it could come down to a field goal, so again, it is what it is. And again, I have to kind of see the Jets first to believe it. I want to see Rodgers kind of not look like he did last year. I want to see the Jets be improved as a unit, especially with the offensive line. I want to see how everything just kind of plays with the Jets and how it all winds up working out. Because ultimately, that's pretty important, is seeing how these things work out before you make any big harsh judgment. But all right, that's my week 1 NFL picks, I believe, you guys. Can't believe we made it all the way through. We're going to get this done before 30 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here. But yeah, what do you think? Make sure you let me know down in the comments below. Again, nothing, just trying to make some jokes about teams. Don't take anything too seriously. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoy the picks. Hopefully they're not too triggering or enraging for anybody. But yeah, that's about that, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your night, day, morning, mid-afternoon, mid-evening, at time between like 2 and 5, where you just kind of like vaguely like a weird time. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your time. Can't wait for week 2. Can't wait for these games to get started. I can't believe it's the season. Go Lions, go Patriots, and of course, no, wait, hold on. I was doing the baseball one. It's go Lions, go Tigers, and of course it's always go Patriots. Have a good week 1. Can't wait to see your picks. Welcome to Pick'em. Peace.